All right, Shalom. Call Allah Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakaha Kodash, and double honors to the elders and apostles, GMS, who do well and peace. Salutation to the hopefully late. Now, I'm going to get right into the point because we see, the day out, the day is approaching, man. You know that them doors of mercy are closing. As far as you Edomites, you obviously see that your kingdom's crumbling. You're seeing, calamities rise up. Your own people are starting to rise up against you because now Edomites are starting to realize that they've been spoiled by their own people. You know, they starting to realize they've been spoiled by their own rulers. And then you have, Jake start, they're going to rise up too because they realizing, damn, this motherfucker Trump them, pulled a fast one on them. He's trying to save his own skin, hide behind, the ish people, right? But they gonna end up betraying him anyways. I'm being saying that they gonna fuck around and betray Trump. He's just using him. He's just a wingman too. But you see these things coming down the pipe from the violence. The nature of people. The vaccine got the juice got people going crazy. There's so much stuff coming out on that, right? You see these different shareholder organizations starting to invest into this technology, this technological grid system, whether it be the Fed now system or whether it be what they've already been investing in, the carbon fiber footprint, uh, GMO foods, tracking system based upon GMO foods, and all these different what's what I'm looking for, just revenues of technological advances for this digital era, for lack of a better term. But you see, all these things going to backfire because Esau's going to lose it. They're already losing it. You know, Esau's losing, man. Esau's losing, brothers and sisters, man. So it's really not. You really shouldn't even be. You should be rejoicing right about now. I'm not saying don't. Obviously, be on your square. I, don't just get outside and think that everything is sweet because we ain't made it on the chariots yet, right? You always want to be up. You want to take care of yourself, still take care of your body, keep doing good, keep doing the Lord's work. But most importantly, more than all of that, keep the faith in what you're doing. Actually believe in what you're doing for Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. You're prophesying down the kingdom just like the prophets of old. And see, these Edomites are starting to see this. They're going to eventually come for us, you know. So you just got to be prepared for these things, man. Let me get this real quick. It's Habakkuk 2 and 8. It says, I didn't say Mark, I said Habakkuk. Habakkuk 2 and 8. It says, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. And this was a remnant. This is a remnant of Esau's own country. It's going to spoil his ass, man. So all the remnant that's going to be left behind after all of the chaos that's going to, come, the people getting drafted to the war, waging war on the citizens. So a lot of people are going to get locked up. Homeless people, pretty much. There's going to be a lot of people going into concentration camps. You know, it's going to get ugly out here, man. It's going to get really ugly, to say the least. And if you are in this fold, man, really, we should be thinking Yahweh Bashem Yahweh. We should be thinking Yahweh Shah, man. Because we can be out there too. We can it can really as easily as be that the Lord put, even though we're going to be tested, He can put you out there with the wolves too, man. So you never want to get to the point where you feel like you made it. But continuing on, like I said, Esau's going to turn against Esau. We're already seeing these things. It's starting to rise up. Seeing these different videos of CK, right? Now I was watching a video of some Edomites talking about, he had a metal neck or metal plate, because now the suspect of him, being, shot from behind. Now they're trying to make him to some kind of savior. These are all tactics that Esau uses to throw tantrums, mass shoot churches and, hang, so-called black men and women. He's a fucking devil. He's the devil that the Bible speaks of, man. And by no means is anything that he's doing gonna get justified. You know, we ain't never justifying this motherfucker, man. On over the innocent. Is Habakkuk 2 and 8. It says, because of men's blood and for violence of the land of the city and of all that dwell therein. So the Lord is telling you why these things are going to happen to you. Verse 9, it says, woe unto him that coveteth and evil covetous to his house. It says that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. And this is where we, a lot of jakes, that pretty much try to hide behind their wealth. They try to hide behind, their finances, right? Pretty much their status in this world. They're gonna try to hide behind those things. But see, in that day, gold, silver, all that, everything you got, none of that shit's gonna matter. You're gonna need the covering of Yahweh Shai. That's going to be your saving grace, man. You're gonna need the covering of our Lord Yahweh Shai, man, because it's gonna be going on over all the country. But you're gonna be saved. You are going to be protected, brothers. You gotta understand that. Now, yes, you're gonna see some things, but you just count it all joy, man, that the Lord has blessed you, with enough to understand, predominantly with this knowledge and this truth, man. You've been sealed. I'm gonna read this out of NLT and really, really dive into it because these things is going to happen, and you got a lot of our people that try to hide behind riches. That think that that's going to save them. When you might be in a situation where you have it, and you're going to have to help other brothers and sisters, man. That's for this truth. You know, that's gonna be a thing, man. That's even for myself, man. If that comes my way, hell, I don't know. I might be out there in the street too again. But at the end of the day, it's on how the Lord has measured. He's how he's dealing with you, how he's dealing with certain men. You might be out there on the street, but you might be in a situation where the Lord will lead you with the rest of the brethren to a place or to a spot where you right back into a nice little spot. You feeding you soup, feeding cream soup and whatever, man. You know what I'm saying? You never know how the Lord's going to do the same, man. But He's going to take care of His elect, man. He's going to take care of those that believe in Him. You got to just stay faithful until the end, and I mean that for myself too. Now I'm gonna read this out of NLT, like I said, and dive into it. It says, "What sorrow awaits you who build big houses with money gained dishonestly." You see, and who's gained this money dishonestly? Who's the main culprit? Esau, Edom, man. Through rape, robbery, and murder, the so-called blacks and Native Americans. Our ancestors that built this land up. You know, and then continue to they work the hardest. My grandfather worked hard as fuck. Only to find out all his shit got stolen, all everything that he had, all his riches, pretty much was given away. Not necessarily given away, but he couldn't really obtain any of those things, man. It was pretty much stolen through deceit. I'm not gonna go into details, but see, these are things. Just use it as an example because these are things that happen in this land. You know, even with the dishonestly the lawsuits, right? With these whores, and that's why a lot of you whores are gonna get raided. You're gonna suffer really bad, man. You know, you pretty much you get with certain jakes that accumulated wealth through their hard work, and in this kingdom, you found out you can pretty much maneuver the system, right, to get half of Jake's shit. You play the game a little bit, get half of his shit, and you just get to skate off like Princess Diana or some shit. Nah, the Lord has a sick judgment waiting for your ass too. It said, "You believe your wealth will buy security, putting your family's nest behind the reach of danger." Verse 10, it says, "But by the murders you committed," you know, a lot of these different things that go on around our communities is all through centered through ill dealings, right? Treacherous dealings, ill dealings, from these different contracts, promises, broken promises, somebody being fucked over by this devil on it. The list goes on, man. But see, this is all rooted in this devil's way, man. He's a liar. He's the wicked. He's a liar. He's nasty. You know, and his fucking daughters are too. Is why I don't understand why you want to get with an Edomite bitch. The fucking thing's a dog, man. But each is their own. Brothers. Do what you do. I'm not fucking. Me personally, man. I'm not dealing with no fucking Edomite, man. But in these days, if that's what your brothers need to get by, that may be your only hope. The so-called black woman is there's some good sisters out here, but at the end of the day, they box is fucking gone, bro. for the most part, and so are these Edomites, and so is really as all these westernized women. If you want my opinion, inbox is gone, bro. You don't take care of it very well either. Habakkuk 2. Actually, let me go here to go to Isaiah 33. Isaiah 33 and 1, it says, Woe unto thee that spoileth, and it says, And thou was not spoiled, and dealt treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee, how you did the Native Americans, how you backdoor Jake, even now Jake got that spirit on him, we got the spirit of Esau on him. That's why he's gonna get judged seriously bad in these times, man. I was listening to another brother's live the other, today. It is what it is, man. I see you on the other side, man. It is what it is. The Heavenly Father is getting tired. He's tired. He's tired. He's tired. He's tired. Jakes. It's just one of the things where this word is going out there. There's no excuse. He's tired of the mocking, the scoffing of his prophets, the mistreatment of his prophets. The obviously the devil making us an offender for a word. We don't do anything wrong. We're not doing anything. We just preaching the word. We warn the people, and we're trying to compel the people back to Yahweh Shah for salvation. But they're not gonna hear. Most are not gonna hear. It's only for a very few, man. It is. Isaiah 33 and continuing on, it says, Thou shalt be spoiled, and when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. And that's what we're going to do to you in the kingdom. And that's really pretty much what you already seeing happen. You know, you've seen these nations rise up, China pretty much putting tariffs back on the United States, and it's backfiring. These Trump's tariffs are backfiring, trillions of dollars in debt. Now he wants to wage war on the Americans, man, it's not funny, but it's like, man, this devil is something else, man. He just keeps showing you his true colors. For every ill deal that he makes, you're to blame for the shit that he's deciding to implement worldwide. He's saying that you're to blame. Your way of thinking. Uh, you want to stand up, you want rights, and you want to, pretty much, receive better health care, receive uh, uh, better treatment from these medical facilities, right? Blaming, the vaccine. He's now that's coming out. You can't talk bad about him with the Epstein shit. Now he's taxing Hollywood. At first it was, what was it, the FCC. He was in the talks. The FCC, he doesn't want them saying anything bad about him. He's talking about, fining them for that. Now it's, he's just gonna ban Hollywood altogether. You see what I'm saying? He's pretty much showing you what he is, and what did Nero say? Let me get this real quick, because he's observed himself as what Daniel, I believe it's Daniel the 11th chapter. Uh, he's exerting himself as this man here, man. He's humbling himself. They shall love him at first, and then I believe it's Daniel the 7th chapter. Khan. This is pretty much, this is him. This is him in a nutshell, man. This is Daniel 11 and 17, man. He's playing out everything all over again. Okay. This is Daniel 11 and 17. It says, he shall set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom. It says, and the upright ones with him, thus shall he do. And he shall give him a daughter of women, corrupting her. Pretty much Eve thought that, he was on her side, and now you're starting to see that backfire. You see, but see, this is the same spirit of the Roman Empire. It's the same spirit of the Greeks and the Romans, man. Predominantly the Romans, what this going into. And who is this man? He's Nero Trump in the spirit, man. Nero Trump, right? It says, he shall give him the daughter of women, corrupting her, but she shall not stand on his side, neither be for him. And now Eve is going against him. You see these, pretty much the Lord got the devil going against the devil, got the devil's top mistress Eve going against him. Now it's really beautiful to watch, man. We just get to sit back and watch the show and be the the little lames nobodies we are in this world right now, right? Till the Lord raises back up. Is verse 18 that says, after this shall he turn his face to the isles and shall take many, but the prince of his own half, the prince for his own behalf shall cause reproach offered by him to cease. It says, without his own reproach, he shall cause it to turn upon him. You see, and see, that's what you're seeing going on right now. Not just in America, that spirit of division between governments, that the spirit of division between the government, the powers that be, man. You know, from whether it be Democrat, Republican, or whether it be Trump and the UK, or the UK and Russia, and or the UK and their own prime ministers, or these their own people are turning on themselves, man, because their own tongue is starting to fall on themselves. It says, then he shall turn his face towards the fort of his own land. It says, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found. You see? And that's what's going to end up happening, man. This is all pretty much over. This is all happening over again. This history is repeating itself, but we at the latter end. So now the Lord is about to outdo what's been done in the past. He's going to require that's which was past, right? And that which was then is now. You see, and all these things are going to come to pass. Daniel 11:20, it says, then shall stand up in the state a raiser of taxes. It says, in the glory of the kingdom. But in a few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. It says, in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. And now, what are we seeing? What are we seeing going on right now? It's speaking peaceably, peace, peace. And I was listening to the elder apostle Tahar's video, man. When these people speak peace, what do they want? I mean, he's right. Every time they speak peace, they really mean war, because how do they bring peace? Through war, through violence, through trampling over Jake, through oppression, through just being goddamn tyrants, man. You see? So it says, but he shall come peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. Now, who does this sound like? That's not, your Nero Trump. That sounds like your boy Yahoo Milk. You see? And see, at the end of the day, that's the little those. This nation has always been ran by them. They've already been taken over by them, man. You know, and it says, but continuing on, it says, and with the arms of a flood shall they be taken and overflown before him. It says, and it shall be broken. Yeah. It says also the prince of the covenant. It says, after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up and shall be strong with a small people, man. You see? And who's that small people? That's those top global elites. That people that want to usher in that one world government, man. We are literally in the matrix, And at the end of the day, the Lord is only so far the Lord is going to allow this to go before He eventually, sends before He eventually sends his destroyer, Yahweh Shah. And the holy angels continuing on, it says, he shall enter peaceably even upon the fattest places of the providence. It says, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers of fathers, because they claim to worship God and this and that, but they're gonna show, man, they really devil worshippers, man. They don't worship God. They don't believe in the Heavenly Father. They don't, keep the laws. They don't believe in His ways. They got oral circumcisions, which is abomination going on in the Holy Land. It says they're not the true people. We are. It says he shall scatter among them the prey and the spoil and the riches. Yeah. It says that he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time. He shall forecast his devices against the strongholds. And what are his devices, man? It's his enchantments, media, right? And so it's why the Lord brought this. Let me get this real quick, because his devices are going to fail. Everything that this devil is plotting on to coming on, is all going to fail. The Lord is so cold with it. He'll let you build yourself up, make you think you winning, everything's gonna go smooth and dandy and dandelion with Steve, where everything's blowing with the wind and looking all good and sunshine and shit. But see, at the end of the day, the Lord, when it's all said and done, that sunshine is going to turn into thermonuclear fire coming on the earth, man. You see, and it's why the Lord, He put these things out there. He put this out there for our learning. It's Isaiah 47. It says, "But these two things shall come upon thee in one day: the loss of children, widowhood. They shall come upon thee, their perfection." He thinks he's going to be able to stop this, and he's not. It's going to be catastrophic. Everything's going to be happening when it really break loose. It's all going to be happening simultaneously, man. From the chit, to them trying to escape the bunkers, to World War III, to the people in the concentration camp being killed, people being kidnapped, being slaughtered in the streets. We in the act, so I believe that you're gonna see spiritual power activated on certain brothers and maybe certain sisters too. I don't know, but definitely certain brothers you're gonna see, that being activated. You know, the implementation of the chip is going to skyrocket. These calamities, man. That's why he has the robots, the police force, and all these different weaponry, man. A lot of people are going to take it, you know, but it's going to be a slow build up to that. It's already a slow build up to it. You see, whenever they mandated, for you to stay in your house or your apartment or wherever you at in order to eat, most people are going to take it. You know, most people are going to take it. They say they not, but you will. Excuse me, you will, or you're gonna get. If you don't, you're gonna get kidnapped. Like the Lord said, you're gonna be kidnapped and you're gonna be taken. If you don't have the covering of the Lord, you're gonna make sure you take it, man. That's why I understand in this, you understand what you're a part of, man. But anyway, it says in the moment in the day, the loss of children. It's talking about Babylon the Great. You know, I shall sit as a lady forever, right? In widowhood, they shall come upon thee in their perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries. It says, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. Verse 10. It says, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. And it says, thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. You see? And that's how these Edomites think. They don't think that they're going to be taken out of power by the Lord, man. See, the Lord is so cold with it, man. When he actually decides, when he sends them angels and he takes this devil out of power, man, man, it's gonna be beautiful. Just to see the proud really because the Lord hates pride, and it says their pride is reached unto heaven. Let's get that. You know, let's do this real quick. Their pride has definitely reached unto heaven because what do? They brag about their guns. They brag about what they've done, their history. They brag about they mock you in the scriptures. Well, not the scriptures, in the media. You know, and at the end of the day, the Lord is still going to take them out of power because you see, who did He promise these things? Who did He promise salvation to? The Israelites. And these are we're the people that's been over here that's been oppressed. Now, Jake, you're gonna find certain Jakes in better position than others, you know. But we're the ones that have went through hell and loops and crevices trying to, just get to a stable living, always, living in fear or living in worry, or, you might live in strife, in your everyday life, you dealing with your job, dealing with your bosses that you don't like, you're dealing with people you don't like, but these are all things centered around a unrighteous kingdom, you see. But it is what it is, man. It's what Jake wanted. It's what Jake wanted. So it's Revelation 18:5. It says, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and God have remembered her iniquity. So he's going to remember all of these things, everything that they did to us, all the way back unto Cain. His spirit, he's going to remember this devil all from Cain to Babylon, you know, to Assyria, to the Medes and the Persians, to the Greeks, right? To the Romans. He's going to remember all those things, and he's going to require the judgments from then too, from these people, from these nations, man. You see, verse 6, it says, reward her even as she has rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. It says, in the cup which she hath filled, to her double. Verse 7 it says, how much she have glorified and lived deliciously, so much torment and grief and torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and I am no widow, and I shall see no sorrow, man. You see, and this is what that's why the Lord said, therefore, verse 8, therefore shall her plagues come in one day. We just read that in Isaiah. Her plagues come in one day, death, mourning, famine, and she shall utterly be burnt with fire. For strong is the Lord Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shah, who Lord it says is for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. You know, it says lament for Babylon. You know, and pretty much he's telling you kings, man, you start lamenting for this place. You know, this place ain't gonna make it, man. You know, the Lord is about to do away with this rulership. You see, and the Jacob, you know, us being the former of all things, man, we're the Lord's portion. So he's going to, you know, strengthen. Hold up, he's going to strengthen us in that day. Let me do this real quick. I hate when this dumb shit happens. He's going to strengthen us in that day. You gotta believe it, man. Let's see. Let's get it here. And at the end of the day, you know, nobody's gonna be able to say that they didn't know or what they couldn't. I mean, this is the time to do all of those things now, man. You know, this is the time to put on that cup of suffering, to you know, to get that seal in your mind, to understand these scriptures, to tap in. You know, this is the time to tap in. So if you've been playing, you know, you've been taking this lightly, you've been mocking, scoffing, you don't think you're gonna be found out there with no covering. Yahweh Shah's not dealing with you, man. Jeremiah 51 and 20. It says, thou art my battle axe and yeah. It says, thou art my battle axe and my weapons of war. For it says, for with thee will I break the pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy the kingdoms. And with thee will I break the pieces of the pieces of the horse and his rider. It says, with thee will I break in the pieces and the chariot and his rider. Verse 22, it says, with thee also will I break in pieces man and woman, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young, and with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. Verse 23 says, with thee will I break in pieces the shepherd and his flocks, and with thee will I break in pieces the husbandman and the yoke of his oxen, and with thee will I break in pieces the captains and rulers. And I will render, verse 24, and I will render unto Babylon and unto all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil they have done unto Zion in your sight, saith the Lord Yahweh. You see? So at the end of the day, the Lord is going to, he's not sparing. It's going to be a time like never before seen on the planet. It's going to be a horrible time, man. You know, and that spiritual power is coming. You know, let me get this real quick. Might as well get it real quick. That spiritual power is coming, man. You know, the fisherman turned hunter. Jeremiah 16 and 16. Behold, I will send forth many fishers, which he's done that. You know, the brothers, you have brothers going out, you have brothers coming in. You know, but this is all these things was prophesied to happen. You know, in the latter end they shall depart from the faith. You know, but you can't really even get mad. You just, you know, really, if you really care, just pray for the brother, man. You know, but at the end of the day, if the Lord dealing with him, he's gonna take care of him anyways. We just gotta make sure that we doing what we gotta do, and stand in good graces and on the good case of the Lord to the best of our ability, man, and moving in fear of Yahweh Shah, but also in our faith in Yahweh Shah. So verse 16, behold, will I send many fishers, saith the Lord, and they shall fish them, and after I will send many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and every hill, and out of the holes and the rocks, all the little bunkers that they going into, you know, these different hideout spots, these multi-million-dollar hideout spots that these different devils have gotten even celebrities and took into the bait. Look, you're not gonna be able to escape the wrath of the Lord. Nobody is. See, in verse 18, it says, "And at first I will recompense their iniquity and their sins double." See, he's gonna reward them double, man. And even some of our people, they're gonna take part into some of these judgments, man, for joining with the wicked and trying to snare Jake. You know, you thought it was fun, you thought it was, you know, a pleasing thing to, you know, roll with this devil in his little secret club, and you pretty much, lay out these snares for Jake, whether it be in these different markets, right, these different lands, whether it be in the banking system. You snare Jake with the redlining, you snare Jake with the police, you snare Jake with the damn the government system, period, man. The welfare system, everything about this place is made to snare us, man. And Jake has helped this devil with that. So a lot of Jake's gonna take part in those judgments, man. That may be some of my family and your family too. You see, but if the Lord dealing with you, you gotta just count it all joy that the Lord is dealing with you. Because they're gonna be brought back through you, man. Fucked up as it may sound, it's the reality of the situation right about now, man. It's the truth of the matter. Continuing on, man. Verse 18, it says, "And I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double, because they have defiled my land, and they have filled my inheritance with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable things." You see? And that's pretty much how they spoiled Jake, man. They spoiled us with the idols, the philosophies. Jake took part in these things willingly. Then you have some of us now, we've been pretty much forced into sin because Jake oppresses Jake. You gotta work. You're just not, you're in a situation where you behind any lines. You gotta do certain things. It's like you gotta sin in order to make it. Even just a little bit. And that's why we need Yahweh Shah, man. You know. But see, at the end of the day, the Lord is still, He's watching. He's going to have you in these days, man. As you see on the screen, all these different, you look at all the list of all the bombings, all the different, this is after World War II. You see? I mean, look at this shit, man. This man is a fucking maniac. And that's not even a whole article. It's crazy, man. And this is a warmongering devil, man. His job is to. He's done a good job at being the fucking devil. I will give him that. He's done a great job at being a fucking devil, man. A lying piece of shit. And like I said in the beginning of his video, see, now the Lord is going to turn His own people against him because they see how pretty much screwed they've been screwed by this devil. But at the end of the day, we just gotta wait. Be patient, brothers and sisters. Happy Day of Atonement unto you. I pray that your Day of Atonement, you take it serious. And whatever you pray about, just understand, man. It's a serious day for you. For us, all of us. You know, we know that certain brothers ain't gonna be able to celebrate the day. You might celebrate tomorrow. Certain brothers had to celebrate it today because they had to work tomorrow. However you did it, right? Just make sure that you pray and you thank the Lord, man. You know, you thank the Lord and you pray whatever you atone it for. You make that known to the Lord, man. Because it's a very sacred day for you to afflict yourself. And the Lord is listening, man. At the end of the day, there ain't no other way we're gonna get out other than Yahweh Shai, anyways. In that right there, I pray this was exhorting. I pray it was informative, and I pray it was uplifting to the hopeful election, still enduring in their faith, man. In that right there, call Allah, Yamla, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kwadash, and Shalom to the hopeful elect, man. We almost out of here, brothers and sisters, man. Just keep pushing. This shit is about to end.